Well, joining me now is aviation attorney Timothy Loranger. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
So, if mechanical failure played a role here in this Philadelphia crash, who could be held accountable? And in D.C., how is liability really determined in a mid-air collision when military aircraft and civilian aircraft are involved? So, if you can kind of unpack both of those.
Sure. With regard to the Learjet 55, obviously it's unknown what exactly went wrong with the aircraft. I mean, it's almost, correct to assume that something went terribly wrong mechanically with the aircraft that would cause it to go into this incredible dive very soon after it took off. Who would be responsible for that? It certainly isn't known because we don't have information about it. But what the NTSB will look at is the history of the aircraft, the maintenance that was done on it, making sure that it met all of the standards necessary for it to be considered airworthy. And then to look at, what recent maintenance was done, whether there were new parts, components that were installed on the aircraft, and see if those were a part of this. But it's very early, and the NTSB will get to the bottom of that. With regard to who might be liable for the crash between a civilian CRJ and the Black Hawk, that is going to be answered. Everyone is speculating about whether or not this is a human error issue, and then whether or not there is some kind of mechanical issue that may be involved. They're going to look very closely at the federal government here. They are very likely in control of the air traffic controllers and the work that they do, unless there was civilian air traffic controllers involved. And then, of course, the Department of Defense and the Army are responsible for how their aircraft are operated. And if it's found that there was some negligence, then they may have liability.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for them if it's a person that is found to be responsible for this, just what that would feel like to have the weight of the world on your shoulders. Big responsibility that all these folks have. The father of Sam Lilly, who was a co-pilot on that American Airlines flight, and to make sure everybody's keeping everything straight and their ducks in a row, this is the D.C. crash, the one that happened above the Potomac River with the helicopter. And he spoke to NewsNation. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
I knew he was on a trip, so through my wife, I got in touch with his fiance, and we found out what trip he was on. It was the same trip. And he wasn't answering the phone. That's what I knew. It doesn't make sense. The only thing, Sam's right with Jesus, and I know where he's going, and I just love that kid, and I'm sorry.
Wow, and just breaking down, I'm amazed he even was able to talk to us. His son he told us was engaged, and he was about to walk down the aisle, and so many just heart-wrenching stories there. Can families of crash victims pursue legal action? What challenges would they face if they tried?
Well, that's certainly something that can be considered once all of the facts and information come in from the NTSB investigation and also the Army's crash investigation. It's so early to start talking about blame, but certainly if the negligence of someone else caused this real incredible tragedy, then the families would have some right to pursue a legal claim against those parties. It could be the federal government, specifically the FAA, or it could be the Department of Defense. But again, it's very early to reach those kinds of conclusions. What's important here is to support the families, let them know that the investigators will get to the bottom of this, because I'll tell you, having represented many families in similar situations, what they want more than anything else is to know that no other family will go through this again.
Yeah, I think we have some pictures of Sam Lilly that we can share as well. But let's go ahead and take a listen to what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has said about the air traffic control system this morning.
Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II. We have to upgrade the system. We have to have the best system in the world. The technology was developed here, but it's not being used here. We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system.
And I've got some numbers here that I want to share with you and get you to react to. The president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association wrote this, quote, only 10,800 certified controllers in the entire country right now. We are supposed to be at 14,335. big difference in those numbers there. How do current aviation laws, do you think, address staffing shortages in air traffic control? And could the federal government face legal consequences?
Well, certainly, if it turned out that the air traffic controllers made some mistake that led to this, or that their actions were the cause, there could be some litigation against the federal government. With regard to the hiring and the shortage of air traffic controllers, I believe, first of all, I'd like to say I think we have the best air traffic control system in the world. And while there may be upgrades in technology that are appropriate or are possible, right now I think we are dealing with the best. I think the problem is that people aren't interested in becoming air traffic controllers. If there's a shortage, it's because they don't have a lot of applicants. And then there are, of course, you have to meet very rigorous standards. Those standards have not been lowered for anyone, but it appears that the pool of possible air traffic controllers is very small. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But it is comforting to know that you think we do have a very good system in place, and we don't want to, make any concessions for what they need to go through to become air traffic controllers. Maybe we need to pay them more. Maybe we need to find a way to incentivize folks. Thanks again. Absolutely. Appreciate your time. Aviation attorney Timothy Loranger. We're going to be right back with more.